What if you're just one rate cut away from missing the best stock opportunity of the decade? I remember sitting at a backyard BBQ a few years ago. One of my friends, well, let's call him Mike, was pulling up his portfolio on his phone, grinning ear to ear. He was up 70% on the year. I was flat. Same market, same timing. So what happened? Turns out he was positioned before the pivot. While I was waiting for clarity, he was already riding the wave. And now, that same setup is brewing again. The Fed hasn't cut rates yet, but the market's already betting on it. Small caps are getting ready to explode, but inflation is still sticky, and that's keeping mega caps in control. It's not an either-or game anymore. Because here's the uncomfortable truth no one tells you. The real gains don't happen after the Fed cuts. They happen right before, when fear meets preparation. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to position yourself using what I call the barbell strategy. Anchoring into fortress mega caps while adding torque with explosive small caps that thrive in easing cycles. If you've ever felt behind in the market or missed the Teslas and Nvidias of the past, this is your moment to reset, because the next 12 months could shape your next 10 years, and we're going to break it all down stock by stock. Okay, now let me show you the smartest move I'm making right now. Let me ask you something honest. Do you want safety or do you want growth? Most people try to pick one. They either play it safe with mega caps or chase high-growth names, hoping to land the next Tesla. But here's the thing. In today's market, choosing just one is a trap. The smarter move? You don't pick sides, you build both. That's what I call the barbell strategy. Think of it like this. On one end of the barbell, you've got heavy, stable mega caps. These are companies with fortress balance sheets and the power to weather inflation, policy shifts, or even geopolitical drama. On the other end, you load up light, explosive small caps, companies that can rip higher the moment rates drop. The result? You've got a portfolio that can hold its ground in volatility and sprint when the market pivots. Right now, the Fed is signaling an easing cycle. Futures markets are already pricing in cuts. But here's the kicker. Inflation isn't dead. Core CPI is still running around 3.1%, far above the Fed's 2% target. Tariffs, sticky goods prices, and global tensions are keeping the pressure on. That means you need exposure to companies that can pass costs along, the giants. But if inflation does cool and the Fed pulls the trigger on cuts, that's when the small caps fly. One, they carry more floating rate debt, and just a tiny change in rates flows straight into their earnings. So rather than guessing the outcome, we prepare for both. This strategy isn't about being flashy, it's about being ready. Because the worst place to be right now is in the middle. Let's start with the anchor side of our barbell, the mega caps built for chaos. Let's start with the heavy hitters that are built to survive anything. Let's begin with a company that's basically become synonymous with the AI revolution, Nvidia. For years, Nvidia was just a graphics chip maker. Today, it's the brain behind the entire AI infrastructure. Data centers, robotics, autonomous systems, you name it. Nvidia now controls a staggering 94% of the data center GPU market, and the demand just keeps multiplying. Each generation of AI needs more compute. That's not speculation, that's a math problem. Meta alone reportedly bought over 350,000 H100 GPUs just to train its latest LLAMA model. And now Nvidia is expanding from chips into the entire stack: networking, software, and edge. AI systems. They're not just participating in the AI economy, they're standardizing it. Now shift to Amazon. Everyone knows them as the everything store, but the real story is what powers everything behind the store. AWS, their cloud business. It controls about 31% of the global cloud market, more than Microsoft and Google combined. But here's the twist most people miss: their advertising arm. Amazon's ad business is now pulling in $55 billion a year, and it's growing faster than Google's core search ads. Why? Because people don't search for products on Google anymore. They go straight to Amazon, and the ads follow that intent. Add in Project Kuiper, a satellite broadband constellation already delivering 1 gigabit per second, and their own AI chips like Tronium and Inferentia, and Amazon becomes not just an e-commerce company, but a multi-layered infrastructure juggernaut. Then there's ASML, the company that's quietly enabling the entire semiconductor industry. They've held a monopoly on EUV, extreme ultraviolet lithography, for years, a technology critical for producing today's advanced chips. But now they're ramping up something new: high NA EUV. Imagine moving from 1080p to 4K. That's what this shift is like in chip making. These machines sell for over $300 million a piece, and they're already booked by Intel, TSMC, and others. Every chip fab building the next generation of AI processors will need this upgrade. So while most investors think ASML has already had its run, the next growth wave is just beginning. And finally, let's talk about Arista Networks. In the AI race, everyone's focused on the chips, but without fast, scalable networking, those chips are like engines with no fuel lines. Arista is winning because it gives cloud providers the freedom to scale without being locked into Nvidia's closed ecosystem. Their Ethernet-based systems are flexible, efficient, and already powering the biggest hyperscalers. Arista expects 30% of its 2025 revenue to come directly from AI networking. And as data centers double their throughput, moving from 800 gigabits per second to 1.6 terabits per second, Arista becomes the unsung hero keeping everything flowing. These four megacaps aren't just large, they're dominant. And in a market full of uncertainty, that dominance is what gives your portfolio a rock-solid anchor. Now let's flip to the other side, the small players with massive upside. Now let's talk torque, because while megacaps keep your portfolio grounded, this is where the upside lives, in smaller, high-growth companies ready to pop the moment rates drop. When interest rates fall, small caps are the first to react. Why? Most carry floating rate debt. A rate cut slashes their borrowing costs instantly, and that flows straight into earnings. It's not hypothetical, it's mechanical. Lower costs, higher profits, faster gains. And if you've ever felt like you missed the last wave, this is where you get ahead of the next one. Let's start with Credo technology. They make the high-speed interconnects that move data between chips inside AI data centers. And they're not just in the game, they're already inside the systems at Amazon, Microsoft, and Elon's xAI. Last quarter, they posted a jaw-dropping 274% year-over-year revenue growth, blowing past every expectation on the street. And here's the kicker. They did it while maintaining a 65% margin and keeping their balance sheet completely clean. No debt. Nearly $300 million in cash. That's rare air for a small cap. But this isn't a one-product wonder. Credo's technology is scaling with demand. AI clusters are moving from 800 gigabits per second to 1.6 terabits per second. That's double the bandwidth, double the complexity, and Credo is already designing for that next jump. Analysts believe their addressable market is 15 times larger than their current revenue. If the barbell is about adding torque, Credo brings the horsepower. Next up is SiTime, and while it's not a household name, it's absolutely essential. SiTime makes precision timing chips, the kind that ensure GPUs, switches, and servers all speak in perfect sync. Think of it like this. In a massive AI data center, timing is everything. If those signals drift even slightly, performance crumbles. Networks stall, entire systems crash. SiTime prevents that, quietly but critically. Their most recent quarter showed over 40% revenue growth, fueled by demand from hyperscalers like Amazon and Google. And just like Credo, they run debt-free with gross margins north of 60%. It's an asset-light model in a fast-growing niche that almost no one is talking about. And that's exactly where the asymmetric upside lies. And finally, let's go a layer deeper, into the physical infrastructure that makes all this AI magic possible. MasTec doesn't build AI chips. They build what AI chips run on: power lines, substations, and high-capacity fiber. Without electricity and bandwidth, the entire AI boom is just a pile of silicon. And as it turns out, federal policy is on their side. The government's already committed billions through mandates like FERC Order 1920, which requires new transmission builds to connect clean energy to the grid. MasTec is one of the prime contractors executing those projects. They've already booked a record $16.5 billion in contracted backlog. These aren't hopeful deals. These are shovel-ready builds, funded and underway. And on top of that, MasTec is also laying the fiber backbone, connecting the growing swarm of AI data centers. With $42 billion in federal broadband funding just starting to roll out, they're sitting directly in front of a multi-year wave. So while others chase hype, MasTec quietly builds the roads the future drives on. So here's how you actually make all this work together. This is where the whole strategy comes together. On one side of the barbell, you've got mega caps, resilient, cash-rich giants like Nvidia Amazon, Arista, and ASML, they don't just survive volatility, they profit from it. These are your anchors, the reliable weight that keeps your portfolio balanced when inflation bites or headlines shake the market. On the other side, you've got small cap torque, high growth disruptors like Credo, SiTime, and MasTec, companies that respond aggressively to rate cuts, policy shifts, and innovation cycles. They're not safe, but they're powerful. And when they move fast. Most investors think you have to choose between safety and growth. That's the myth. But the truth is, the edge comes from balance, not betting. Because this market doesn't reward maximalists, it rewards those who prepare for both outcomes. Sticky inflation and easing rates. Mega caps give you the resilience. Small caps give you the upside. And when you blend them together, that's the barbell. Look, if you've ever felt like you missed the big one, don't let it happen again. Back in 2010, Tesla was a tiny, misunderstood stock trading under $4. Fast forward 10 years, it had surged more than 10,000%. That's not just growth, that's life-changing. But here's the real lesson. The majority of investors didn't lose because they made the wrong call. They lost because they made no call at all. They hesitated. They waited for the perfect moment that never came. And by the time the Fed cut, the opportunity had already passed them by. Sound familiar? Right now, Nvidia in 2024 isn't that different from Tesla in 2010. Not in price, but in positioning. It's not just making chips. It's building the rails for the next digital economy, and it's not alone. There are small caps today, like Credo and SiTime, that could be tomorrow's quiet giants, and they're trading under the radar. But this moment won't last. In markets, you're not rewarded for being perfect. You're rewarded for being prepared. And those who prepare before the pivot, they're the ones who capture the upside. So ask yourself honestly, where do you want to be 10 years from now? Because the decisions you make in the next 10 months could shape the next 10 years of your financial life. If this clicked with you, here's what to do next. If this strategy made sense to you, like if you see the power in building both stability and torque, then hit that subscribe button for more deep dives just like this. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with Barbell Strategy if you want a follow-up episode on how to actually build your own custom portfolio around it. This is Mark from Dividend Hustle. Thanks for watching, and remember, we don't chase hype, we position early.